first discussant from the first presentation is Professor An Jung-guk from Myungjin University, Department of Arabic Studies, right?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for thank you very much, Dr. Kroki, and thank you very much for giving us a chance to broaden our knowledge about this region. And I remember the beautiful days I used to stay in Damascus with my colleagues, like Dr. Hayeon-jung and Dr. Lee-kyung, so they are here right now. We spent very beautiful days in the beginning of third millennium in Damascus. But now, as you know, whenever we think about the Syria, we feel pain. Every day we can witness disaster of humanism or humanity. It could be a pain for me, but thinking about the Syria, but I like to ask some question to Dr. Kroki. In these days, Syria has become a neo-colony of Russia or Iran, I believe. And Russia and Iran are playing prominent role in Syria. And you have mentioned about Russia's plan for federal Syria. Russia's plan for federal Syria. It means that Syria could be divided in the future, very near future. So I'd like to ask you kind of explanation about the Russia's plan dividing Syria. Because, and we have also the information Shia-Sunni relationship in Syria is not like Lebanese case or Iraqi case. Very different, and there are a big actor on the political situation in this country, Kurds. They are not like in Syria or Iraq also. So, and I'm not sure that the Assad regime and allies regime can remain or maintain their power in the future. So anyway, so I like to ask you the explaining about the Russia's plan for federal Syria. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor An. I'm sure that Professor Kroki will take notice, and we will go on to the answer session after the whole question. So now I will move on to the next discussant for the second presentation, Professor Yoon Eun-kyung from Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. She is a professor at the Department of Arabic Studies.
Hello, everyone. First of all, it's my honor and pleasure to join you in this conference as a discussant. So, and also I appreciate my deep thanks and appreciate your efforts, Dr. Kim Soo-an, your presentation about this so interesting subject. Arab image on Korean news coverage and perception of Arab image by Koreans. But actually in the processing, the title was different, so I didn't receive any paper before this conference, so I just listened to your presentation just before. I wonder about the terminology, Arab and Islamic Muslims, because there is misunderstanding in Korean people and also in Korean newspapers and Korean media, the misunderstanding about the definition about Arab or Islamic Muslims, because not all Arab people are Muslims and all of Muslims are not Arab. So maybe I suggest you must reconsider about the definition of the terminology in the next research. And as you mentioned in the beginning, this research was conducted several years ago, and you researched the most articles in the Korean newspapers between 2001 and 2011, so 8 years ago. So maybe there are many differences and changes in the newspapers or the perception of Muslim or Arab people of Islam in Korean people or Korean newspapers. So you answered to His Excellency, Ambassador of Jordan, maybe the perception of Arab or Muslim or Islam are going forward to more negative. But I don't think that, because recently Korean government are giving more efforts to increase the cooperation between Korea and the Arab countries, because Saudi Arabia maybe is, the vision of 2030, or United Arab Emirates also their propaganda about the vision of 2003. So maybe as I believe, maybe the images of Arab people or Muslim or Arab countries go forward to more positive, because the perception was a very, very positive, very, very negative several years ago. So nowadays maybe go forward to the more positive, as I believe. And also there are some questions about your presentation. In your research, you mentioned about the negative image or positive image in the Korean newspapers. But I wonder, what are the classification criteria or standards for the positive or negative? Because the articles about the words are the negative, you can say that. I wonder about this criteria, so I want you to answer this question. And okay, and also in Korean newspapers, maybe some Korean media or newspapers are report sometimes incorrect information about Arab people or the Muslim or Islam sometimes. So to solve these problems, what can we do as specialized in the Islamic studies or in the Middle Eastern studies? Okay, thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. I think Professor Yoon has asked several questions, so I think so Professor Kim should answer these all three. So anyway, we will move on to the next discussant is Professor Min-ji Yang from Hankook University of Foreign Studies from the Turkish department. Yes.
I was very impressed with your speech. Thanks for your the presentation. As we heard, Professor Dr. Dengiz mentioned the Turkish economic development about 2017. As far as I know, the current Turkish economy situation is not optimal. But accordingly, I hope the Turkish economy will stabilize as soon as possible. Nevertheless, it is encouraging that the Turkish government recognize the important roles of science, industry, and technology, and is continuing to make great effort to strengthen university industry cooperation. As I'm not an expert in this field, I would like to ask for clarity on a few issues. In middle of the article, as you can see, page 105, that's since 2015, under the Action Plan for Africa, you have signed memorandums and understanding with the several African countries. And clearly the purpose of this agreement to support the sustainable development of the African continent and to meet the real needs for the African industrial community. As far as I understand, that this is based on the Afro-Eurasia ecosystem approach, right? And furthermore, it is for the realization of the national technological movement. But I would like to know the following: other than humanitarian reasons or increased internationalization of human resource or knowledge, what are the main benefits of the Turkish government in giving support to African students? This question also applies to the support of Syrian refugee academics and students in Turkey.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Min Jiang. She gave us some valuable questions too. So we will move on to our last designated discussant, Professor Kim Kang-seok from Dankook University Middle Eastern Department. Yes.
Hello, my name is Kang-seok Kim from Dankook University. I'm really appreciated by the presentation from the Professor Idris from Sheraton University. He explains the peace and extremism redefined the case of the Middle East. I thought that in his presentation he wants to differentiate the terminology consumed by media and political scientists as like historians or any other from the different academic perspective, and he wants to introduce new terminology of mystical or Sufist extremism and juristic, legal or ideological extremism. Among them, he explains that the ideological extremism is more dangerous than the other things, and then by using this kind of concept, he wants to explain or do a case study in the Syrian or Libyan civil war. So it's very fascinating subject because I'm a political scientist and is not familiar with this kind of new categorization of extremism in illuminating the situation in the Middle East. And I have two questions related to this. And I think he wants to cover all of the extremist sources by using these four categorization. That's my understanding, including Middle East or South Asia, global terrorism, right? So, this kind of categorization is consumed by academia? How much is popular, prevalent, and is there any specific meanings in the case of Middle East? Do you think, because there is some regional differences between according to the regions. So when it comes to the terminology, I want to listen more about your specific explanation of the difference on the effectiveness of illuminating the own specifically in the region of Middle East. And another thing is very practical reasons from my personal interest with regard to the Syrian civil war. First thing is that because the topic is related to the extremism, but I think a little bit you did not much focus on the ideological extremism in the Syrian cases in your slides. So tell me more about what kinds of the elements are positioning in ideological extremism in the case of Syria, and many media talk about that. As today's keynote speaker mentions, the collapse of state and the region became more volatile. So there is, which can be a permissible environment for reconstruction of ISIS or rebuilding some caliphate restoration, blah blah blah. So I like to wonder, like in Syrian situations, like there might be another like extremist can be havoc in this region. Do you explain more of that in the practical terms? Thank you for your interesting presentations. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for your interesting question too. Well, I think we have about 20 minutes right now. My watch tells me it's about 12:43, and I think we will do until 1 o'clock. I think my main mission is to keep you time to have enough time for lunch. But at the same time, another mission is to have a very fruitful academic mingling with our panels and discuss, with our presenter, because we have invited from long way. So definitely, I will get some interesting question from floor 1 or 2, or maybe 3. So if there is any question, please.
Must be interesting.
Yes. So if you have any questions, please identify yourself and ask questions to the presenter that you would like to ask. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yeah. Yeah. Could you introduce yourself and ask questions to
Hi, my name is Hyun Jung Ha, and currently I am a visiting scholar at Seoul Metro University's Asia Center. I want to thank you for all the panelists for the interesting presentation, and I learned a lot from your research. My question goes to Professor Kim Swan's research. So I think I have 3 questions. One,
you can press the button so we can hear you.
So the first question is about
So all these three questions are related to your methodological approach. One is about you compared Chuhan, Ilbo, and Hangare, which have different political perspectives. And I was wondering if you found any contrasting ideas, contrasting results in terms of Koreans' perception of Islam, Islam, Arab, or the Middle East. And the second question is about how, I wonder how you made sure to do a random sampling. And I would love to know more about your research participants, especially whether they had some kind of education about Arabs or Islam. So depending on their level of knowledge or understanding, their answers might be different. So I would appreciate to learn more about it. And the last question is about, it is also related to what the Jordanian ambassador mentioned, that Korean news reports are relying on Western reports too. So when it comes to some kind of tragic incidents in the Middle East, we basically translate some of the Reuters or CNN or BBC reports. So I wonder how you would consider those kind of translated resources in order to understand Koreans' perception. So whether you sorted out some individual columns in order to understand Korean perception, or you managed to exclude them just to find what you want to get out of this paper. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for your interesting question. Actually, some of the questions were something that I would like to ask, but you asked already. Thank you for asking. And I would like to have another question for Pro, if there is any. Okay, thank you very much. So now we have about 15 minutes for answering the questions. So I think we will go with Professor Kuroki from the first presenter, answering the question that you have, please.
Well, thank you very much for your question. Well, as for the Russian plan to divide Syria for several entities, well, Russia, from the beginning, they didn't have any firm, strong direction on Syria. There's some news from The Guardian in 2015 that former Finnish president Martti Ahtisaari, he won the Nobel Prize Peace. He got a Nobel Peace Prize before. He said in 2012, February, well, it's just the earliest stage of the uprising. He said that in New York, he was asked by the Russian ambassador to forward the message to the U.S. and other, and France and UK representative, that Russia has a plan in mind that order the Bashar Assad to step aside, and so Russia proposed the cooperative framework with Russia and Western countries. But the US and other countries didn't hear anything from Russia. So, and after that, Russia tried to divide Syria. So Russia, they are very good at some action for the new realities. So new realities comes and then they do something, and so this is why this plan is just one of the process, and so this is why for a long time Russia supported Kurds in Syria, but now the Russia is abandoned. So this is why this is what I want to stress. Everyone has taken positions according to the new realities. So nobody can foresee.
Yes. Thank you very much, Professor Kuroki. Now I will move on to Professor Kim for the questions. Yep, answer.
Thank you very much for your question, Professor Yoon and Professor Ha. It's several questions. So, yes, firstly, to reply Professor Yoon's questions, first you ask what is the terminology Arab, Islam, and Muslim? Yes, that's right. Because the Korean people normally they don't recognize or they don't divide what is Islam, Arab, and Muslim, and even Middle East. So that's why I needed operational definition. So for this research, there is mass communication methodology. One is the operational definition. So I just defined Arab, so-called Arab. It's included, its definition included Arab, Islam, Muslim, and Middle East. Because I just figured out and I just thought the Korean people, they normally don't recognize what is this and what is that. So it was quite difficult for me to Korean people, this is Arab and this is the definition of Islam and Muslim. There was no way to just educate or no way to just let them know. So in this case, normally for this kind of research, we do operational definition. 조작적 정의 in Korean, we do in mass communication research. So this is quite acceptable methodology. Yeah. Yes, and then second question, yes, as I told you, this research was done several years ago, so it's quite out of date. So I'm not sure which research, if I done these days, I'm not sure what kind of research can come up. But as I just answered to Jordanian ambassador, still I think the Korean people have more negative images or perception because as you see these days, during several years, IS-Daesh issues happened. And then as you see in Korea, Yemen refugees, they arrived in Jeju Island. So this kind of event definitely affected to Koreans to have their more negative kind of like images and perception. And these days, Syrian war and Saudi Arabia and Yemen's conflict and Turkey and Kurdish, the conflicts. There are lots of issues, Middle Eastern issues, I mean, more negative issues. So I guess, I'm not sure, but I guess these kind of issues and events can affect the Korean people's mind toward Arab, Islam, and Muslim in negative way. And third question, classification of positive, negative. Yes, this is very crucial issue and matter to research, to do research. Yes, to avoid this kind of like ambiguous definition on issue. That's why I just couldn't explain this because the limitation of the time. But I did 2 survey. First, open-ended, as I told you, and second, quantitative survey. On the first open-ended question, there are only 3 questions. One is, what do you think of Arab? And second question is, what is the positive images of Arab? And third question is, what is the negative images of Arab? So through these three questions, I just intentionally asked the respondents what is negative and what is positive. So I just wanted to draw the people's somehow direct answers, just directly. When I just ask, what is your negative image of Arab? And then just directly, the people, people just reply what they think. Yeah, so I intended to do that. And then second way to avoid the positive, to keep the definition of a positive and negative thing is to analyze the articles, Korean newspapers articles and news coverage. I adopted 5-scale Likert rating. So 5-scale Likert rating is, as I told you, 5 is very much, and 3 is mean, and 1 is not very much. So intentionally, I just wanted to calculate or scientifically just analyze this article's attitude to positive or negative through the scientific way. And then the way to keep the positive and negative in the objective way is to hire coder 1 and 2. So as I mentioned, probably this kind of research researchers' bias, researchers' intention might affect this kind of research. So that's why I hired coder 1 and coder 2. And as I mentioned, this coder 1 and coder 2, they're quite expert in journalism and mass communication field industry. And so, yes, yeah. And your fourth question,
조선의 한결.
조선의 한결에
Difference.
조선의 한결에?
Ah,
yes. Your fourth question was this. What do you think? Incorrect articles. Yeah, incorrect articles. And then to correct this, what can you do? Yes, you're right. Still, I think I found some incorrect articles and then biased articles through the Western articles and news coverage agencies. But due to the digital and internet, the many Korean peoples, they try to get more accurate or more proper information and news coverage through internet. So that's a good thing, I think. And then the other thing is the more Korean agencies, they try to dispatch their own correspondence to the Middle Eastern area these days, not just before then, but these days. So the articles come from Middle East, from Korean agencies in the Middle East. It's quite a direct one, not through the Western agencies. So it's quite a good one, I think. And to answer Professor Ha, she asked, "What is are there any 한겨레 and 조선일보, two main Korean newspapers differences?" Actually, the only number of the articles published was different. Just the 한겨레 newspaper, they reported more articles than 조선일보 about Middle Eastern, Islam and Arab and Muslim. And second one is random sampling procedure. You want to know this kind of procedure. So please, you can have the 5 stage of data selection procedure on the slide. I cannot explain all this one, but firstly, I just typed in keywords Arab, Islam, Muslim, and Middle East in Scrap Master search engine. It's normally, at that time, that was the main search engine, but these days, there are a lot of the better and developed search engine. And then I got more than 8,000 for last 10 years, and then there are the other stage 2 random sampling from this 8,000 is firstly, odd years, we just take odd months and odd weeks article. And the even years, we take even months and we take even weeks, the articles in this. This is normal procedure to the miscommunication research. So I just followed, I adapted this methodology. Yes. And then your third question was, what about the Western, like CNN or AP news coverage? Yes, I found quite a lot. It's, as long as I remember, it was more than 73%, not 100%, because some articles I couldn't figure out. It was, there were from CNN or AP or Reuters. But as long as I knew, as long as I found, more than 73% articles about Middle East and Arab and Muslim and Islam was adapted or was translated from the Western agencies, news agencies. It's quite a lot. But definitely, the situation will be different nowadays, I guess. Yeah, because as I told you, the Korean agencies directly, they just dispatch their correspondence to the Middle East. So the things has been changed, I guess. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor Kim. You tried to answer most of the questions. So anyway, but don't worry about the time of our lunch, because the other session at politics, they have 5 presentations. So They are more tough than here, so don't worry about your time. So our last, I'm not the last, I'm sorry. Our next answer is from Professor Berna. Yeah.
Thank you, Michi, for your discussion about our presentation and for your questions. Your first question, the answer, I will give an answer for first question. As you know, Turkey is well-known country in trade perspective and also construction, industry, and sector in Africa. We also want to increase our cultural and academic dialogues with them, especially for young generation, to build good relationships for the future and to support their technological development also. Your second question is about Syrian refugees, and Turkey government organized special programs and for refugees to adopt and to integrate them in the life in Turkey, and also for the academicians to adopt them to Turkish universities. There is also particular programs for men and women, especially for women, to encourage them to be entrepreneurship in Turkey. And COSGAP, as I mentioned during my presentations, is the small medium-sized enterprises organization, provide them for their needed funds to establish their business in Turkey. Such as programs, and they can use follows and for first they educate them, and then in terms of how they establish their business in law, they're using the regularity in Turkey, and then support them how they sell their production or their if they produce any product in their business, how they sell them in Turkey and also in other countries. So, yeah, we are the Turkish supporting programs.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you all listened to the answers from Professor Berna. Now we will move on to the Professor Mesut Idris answering the question from Professor Kim. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Professor Kim. Well, these three things that I have been trying to put together, well, it has taken me time to come up with the framework, visual framework actually, and a lot of friends, academics, that I have been accompanying with them, they have been using in their writings. I remember last year a book came out, Muslim Organizations and Good Governance, published by Palgrave. I have an article there with a colleague of mine. His name is Joseph Kaminsky from America. And I was trying to explain to him, sometimes people, they know only one language, and they read everything from that language, and they don't have a broad perspective of things. I keep saying to him that, look, we should not just, whatever we read in the news and consume it. Let's say the word, recently they start using Islamophobia, Christianophobia, xenophobia. I mean, these are just put to the market, and we are just eating them, and we are thinking that we are doing academic job without any kind of proper definitions of things. So I have been, in the last at least 15 years, trying to put this together, and perhaps during the workshops, not only conferences are big for this kind of thing, but during the workshops to put these tools and define it properly and put it into a kind of practice, put it into the textbooks, and let them understand it, and apply it as a framework for all the world. You know, kind of like, even you can apply it in Korea, these kind of things, because you have in Korea also these three types of legal things, legal juristics, and theological thing. Then you have mystical groups. So this kind of thing should be really put together, like a ABC book, you know, to become, you know. And filterization, of course, it's a must in that, you know. In the Middle East, again, these three things should be applied to so many groups in the Middle East, in general, the Middle East that we know. We will find, let's say, you take Jordan. In Jordan, you have number of groups, ethnicities, religious backgrounds, and things. Just put them into these three categories and search where they are falling in. Do they fall within the theological? Do they fall, or it could be sometimes three of them together, put together. Theology, Sufi, and I use Sufi, but it is a mystical kind of thing, you know. In Syrian case, you have the government, Bashar Assad and Hafiz Assad, his family thing, you know, that they have been ruling in more than half century. A lot of things are played under this kind of theology, legal matters. And let's say Syrian government is ruled by Assad family, and Assad family, they come under they cover themselves under the Alevi umbrella, but Alevi is inverted comma because under it you have Nusayri. And Nusayri is from Latakia region, you know. You have to go and see them, you know, detect them, you know, what do they do, you know, how do they, and it is not the Alevi that is known in Turkey, that it is not Alevi that is known in Iran. So you, proper detection, proper study, and put them in the right and proper place. Yeah, as I said, this kind of thing that more proper and more valid approach should be used, as well as one thing, when we are doing any kind of, to do justice on any claim, we have to apply moderation. And moderation, it is available in Eastern cultures, what is called wasatiyya in Arabic terms. I believe that Turkey is now picking up the word wasatiyya, moderation. In the past, they did not really know much about this wasatiyya. Thailand started with wasatiyya because they had a lot of extremists or radicalists in the south of Thailand. You know, now they found a common ground between Buddhists of Thailand and Muslims of South Thailand, Patani region, and they said, okay, what is common with us? This government is doing it. It is wasatiyya, moderation. And in Buddhism, they have moderation things. So how to do this kind of thing, it needs proper methodology in educational system. Educational system and educational books, educational works should be really taken care of. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Masood. I think he is trying to emphasizing the local perspective of different, I mean, the original meaning of the definition and terminology. So anyway, thank you very much for your fruitful presentation and also debate during this cultural session.